Alright guys, welcome to the first of my logo redesigns. I am going to start with the Lego, most iconic toy that I can remember growing up. It's one of my favorites because it allowed for so much creativity and excitement. So I'm starting off with Lego. And right off the bat, I figured what's the most iconic thing about Lego is other than their Lego piece. So I start with a simple 1x2 piece and just kind of guesstimate what it is. I probably should have brought in a real Lego piece for sizing, but it gets the point across. It's clearly a Lego piece. And so I'm having some fun with that, and I decide why not look at it from the top view as well. I mean, what the heck, we can just have fun doing that. And so I kind of line it up and think about, okay, well, maybe I can put the text on top of the Lego piece using the O's and the E's and the G's, whatever. They can all be rounded and circular, so maybe those can be dimple points. So I find a font that I kind of like, and I'm just playing with it. Obviously, capital E doesn't work for the dimples, so I'm going to have to make it lowercase, and I do, and I'm seeing, okay, that could work. So I'm going to go ahead and make my own O's and E's so that they're perfectly circular. And I just go ahead and do 2 circles and exclude the middle and make it a new image or a new shape. And then I copy that and go ahead and do the E the same way. The problem is I kind of make it a little too thick, but I find the thickness for the leg of the E, and I go ahead and take that and just drag it across and create this whole new shape. I go ahead and give it a little bit of extra space there so that it lines up with the bottom of the circle in the middle, and I go ahead and make this a shape. And so now I have this E and this O, but it does look a little funky. It's a little off. It's a little too thick and bold. So I go ahead and thin out the O, and I'm going to go ahead and take that and use that same O and create another E that's smaller and simpler. So it's just a little bit nicer, more legible. When you zoom out, those tiny gaps will still be seen. So I go ahead and do the same thing with this E as I did with the first E, just finding that thickness, creating that line, and going from there. I go ahead and create the spacing again. I center that line perfectly in the middle of the circle, so it just looks really nice, top and bottom. Depth is the same. The gap, the white space is the same. I make a mistake here, but go ahead and fix it, and there we go. We got our E, and now we have an E and an O, and they look pretty good. So now I've got EO, and I think about the G for a second, and I was going to create it for a minute, but I decided not to. Capital G after a lowercase E would look funny, so I just take the text that I have up here, and I go ahead and duplicate it, created it into a shape, and now I'm going to go ahead and play with it to make it fit in there. I'm already seeing some problems, like this G is too thick, the line weight's off with the O and the E. It's going to have to be, if I do it, it's going to have to be recreated or fixed or something to make that work, but I still try to get it close to finish because you just never know if something will work or not. One thing I do wish, now that I'm going back and watching, is that I wish I would have created the G, a lowercase g, with the same dimple marks and just done a 3-prong Lego piece instead of a 2-prong, but for some reason in my mind I couldn't do a 3-piece. It just felt like it wouldn't work. So here I am just playing with this to see if it actually can work. I have no idea if it will, but I'm playing with it. Go ahead and line all this up and try to figure it out to make it fit, and obviously I'm messing some stuff up, but you just gotta tinker sometimes to find the right spacing and the right alignment and so on. So I have this, and I decide, I want this to be colored like a Lego piece, and I want to use that red because that's iconic for Lego, and I don't want to change too much. I want it to still be recognizable. So I go ahead and punch those out of that shape because I think that'll be really nice feeling. After doing that, I immediately think Supreme skateboard logo. I don't know if you've seen that before, but you can look it up, Supreme skateboard. It kind of looks like that. But now I'm feeling like it's not gonna work just right, but this looks right. I like that Lego piece and I like that font, and just that right there is simple and nice. So I just kind of set that aside because I'm like, yeah, I think that will do rather nicely. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking, oh, I could take this Lego piece and create the L out of it as well. So I copy the thickness and raise it up, and I try to find the same height as the other L because it's just a little too tall. So I want to find it pretty close, and I decided that's close enough. Go ahead and put that back up there because I do want to save that for later. And so now I've got this blank O. I go ahead and push this G in there just to see, and it's okay. I think it has some potential, but it's going to need a lot of working for its finalness. I'm going to need to thicken the color on the outside of the O and the E, and something's going to have to happen with that G. It's just not right. The L is actually could work, just enough dimples, not too much. It's not over dimpled and too much detail that it could work, but still it's just not really where I want. But I'm gonna go ahead and decide, let's try to do it like the Lego logo over there with a little white, little red, little yellow, little black, and see what happens. So I go ahead and give it some line weight and try to see if that works. I round it off a little bit because it's just too boxy a little bit, and I'm just not liking it. But you just kind of have to run with something until you see it fully through. Even if you think you might not like it, sometimes you just go, and you never know. So here I am trying to make this G work, and in some sense it does. I should have just made it a white G with the outline of yellow, kind of like the Lego actually is, the black and the yellow outline. But I didn't, and I think that was a mistake, and I probably should have come back to that and finished that, but whatever. So then I decide, why don't I create all the text out of Lego pieces instead? So I try to find a font that actually would work, but then I decide, I'm just gonna have to create my own. So I take the Lego piece I already have, and instead of making it perfect, I just use what I have and make the spacing of the dimples the same throughout. And so here I am, and now I'm gonna just make that I guess we'll call it a four banger instead of a two banger. And so now I've got those, and I like that thickness for my text, and so an O and an L and a G can all be the four dimpled, pronged, whatever Lego pieces instead of the two. But as I'm here, I'm also like, wow, I really do still like that logo. The Lego with the simple red block on top really looks nice. And so here I am playing with it and just deciding, while I'm at it, I might as well add the extra pieces to it that would really make it Lego, would really bring it to where this would speak, hey, this is Lego brand. So I go ahead and grab that line weight just for now, because I could make it a shape, but I don't want to right yet. I want to make it just a line weight to make it easier to thicken and thin as I need to, and then later on, if I want to, I can outline it and create a shape instead. But so here I am, I'm deciding, okay, just comparing to the old logo, I need to thicken up that black and just get rid of any color inside the O and the G. So I go ahead and do that, and I really start to like what it's looking like. And then I need to obviously add the yellow behind it. And there's better ways to do it than what I'm doing. I'm just playing with the thickness of each one of those, and now I'm making sure they're all lined up. But I have a problem because the text on top is still a text instead of a shape, and now I'm gonna have to fix that so that I can perfectly align the Lego mark, but we'll get to that. as I do this, I decide, you know, a nice Lego square around or rectangular instead of a square this time would look nice. And just really trying to kind of keep congruent and less redesign and more update, I guess. And so I'm trying to center this and I decide this is stupid. I'm going to outline these and just perfectly center or align all of this together, and that makes it look a lot nicer. So there we go. I have this simple Lego design with a white block on top, and I'm going to go ahead and just bring that up and move that onto this red background just like the original, and you know, that doesn't look half bad. I kind of like just that simple square with the simple text and the block. It's simple but still works really well. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and just create like a monochromatic version of this, and so you could just put it on anything and just have a one color design, this is nice for a lot of prints and a lot of different apparels. It's nice to have something that you could just single color, really easy design. And so I have those and I set them aside and get back to my idea of, oh hey, I've got to make this Lego logo out of Lego blocks, because then, you know, it's just kind of fun. As a kid, if you see it, you're gonna want to design it, you're gonna want to build it, and I wanted it to be buildable, so I make individual pieces. And again, I should have perfectly created the dimples and all of that, but I didn't, and I just took this piece, and so the thickness is off from what it should be. It's not quite right, but I go with it anyways because I don't know, I just feel like I need to. So I started out by building, like, I'm gonna actually build this piece by piece, but that was stupid. So I go ahead and I still need the height to be correct, because I want to make sure if a kid tries to build this, they can actually build it and it looks the same. So I go ahead and space it based on these bricks that I have, and I want it to be 4 bricks high, so I go ahead and set that up 4 bricks high, and then it ends up being 6 total bricks. And by doing that, like, a kid can actually make it, and so that it wouldn't look really funny. So I go ahead and space all this together and get it all figured out, and so I start and I got my O, and I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad. That actually looks okay. It could be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and just make that a shape and go from there. Problem is, I forgot a spot. Didn't bring up that square on the left, or the rectangle on the left quite enough, so I got to redo it again and make it one solid shape. And here we are. So I've got my O, and I shouldn't get down and realize that's not going to work. All my pieces are the bigger size, so I need to either shrink all the size of the pieces or just this one piece. So I bring that one piece back up to the same size, and I take it and I start using that size for the rest of the letter. So I create the E in the same way, and because the text is perfectly created from Legos, like, it's not a centered middle E, which looks nice in a sense, but also is buildable for the kids later on. So there we go. We got our Lego built out of Lego pieces, and you know, it's not terrible, but as I was doing it, I wasn't even realizing that I think that the Lego movie is similar to that. I don't know what it is. I can't remember. I should look it up, but it's something like that. And so I just was still just going, though, not thinking, and lots of times, you know, innovation and inspiration is really just forgetting where you got an idea from. You see it somewhere and you forget, and so lots of times that's inspiration, and some of that's okay. I do like to be as original as I possibly can, but there is nothing new under the sun, and so here we are. I'm creating a logo that's already been created, but you gotta do it sometimes to know either it's been done or you mess something up, or it's just not gonna work, whatever it is. So I do it. I create this Lego logo. I'm not loving it. I'm not liking it that much. I didn't do it the way I should have, and so I've got some weird spacing issues. but I've got something to look at. And so here I am. I got this Lego piece with the built out of Legos font, and I don't really like it. There, I should zoom in to show you. Yeah, that spacing's off. But then I get zoomed out again and I see, that Lego that I did earlier I think it is the design. And at this point, I'm about 45 minutes in and I'm like, I gotta finish. So I take it and I'm just gonna go ahead and finish with this idea because I really like it. I tried to drag that image up to the top, but it's all lost. So I gotta find it in the groupings and move it around, and I work really sloppy. Really, the way that you should do it is like work through a thought and make that thought on separate layers and groups and all of that. But I'm just kind of going and not being clean about it. And sometimes that's how my brain just works. It bops from one thing to the other. As you can see, I was working on one logo and then jumped to a different one and then jumped to another one. And lots of times that's just because things aren't working properly in one way, so I go to another to see how that would work and then pop back. I'm already sitting here thinking, oh, if I go back to that earlier logo with the top-down view, I might be able to make that EGO work out on that brick and figure out how to make the L work too. But I am happy with this idea, and so I go ahead and finish her off in a sense. I widen out all of the text and the border around it and make sure that there's no little gaps in the O and G. And there we go. We got our Lego with the Lego brick floating kind of outlined, and then we got the Lego brick in white, and I really do like that Lego brick in white. And then we've got this here inverse kind of single color logo, and I figured, well, let's just do it in every single color that the logo uses, so white, yellow, black, and red. And I'm just gonna put a background on it for people to see it. And here we go. We got some Lego logos, and I kind of like that. And you can always obviously do the inverse of this too, which would look really good with a little border around it. But here's what I decided as the new redesigned Lego logo, and these three little designs. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.